The following segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. All right, Andrea Suarez is a dear friend of the show. She is the founder of We Heart Seattle, which is a citizen-led nonprofit that started with her getting sick of looking at the trash in city parks and going out to clean it up herself. Now her team of volunteers has cleaned up like 1 million pounds of trash across the city of Seattle, cut through the government red tape and bureaucracy. And now We Heart Seattle is encouraging residents to get out and vote. They've launched a campaign. It is called Voting is Your Superpower. You might see that plastered on billboards across the city of Seattle as we are now 2 weeks out from the election. So Andrea was kind enough to stop by the studio today to talk to us about this new mission. Andrea Suarez, welcome back to unDivided.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get to this whole situation, the reason that you're here, I get anxiety leading up to an election, I guess that's just built in, but you've been so entrenched in some of the issues that Seattle is having. So do you have worry and concern about the direction things will go?
I do have a lot of worry. The Voting is Your Superpower campaign is just that, to turn out new voters, to engage voters, voter education, register new voters. And so we're doing all of that. And Saturday was our kickoff event, which was a walkabout through 3 districts, working with King County Elections to host a voter registration booth and just passing out flyers, asking people where they're from. Are they voting? Did they get their ballot yet? To just really energize and create some buzz that voting is your superpower. And it's critical for this particular election with 7 out of the 9 seats up for grabs.
Yeah. To be clear, I mean, I know you have your personal opinions about candidates. Is that something We Heart Seattle is advocating for, like voting for or against people?
Well, if you go to our website, there is a voter candidate, breakdown, direct links to their own websites. We cannot directly endorse any candidate, obviously, as a 501c3, but we are encouraging voters to educate themselves on what are each candidate, doing for our public safety crisis, our homelessness crisis, the environmental crisis, impacted by these unsanctioned camps. Having picked up 1 million pounds of trash, I am in the belly of this beast and I know what is working and what's not. And I don't think we should be rewarding people who've been in these seats with the state our city's in. So I'm just asking voters to educate themselves and get out the vote.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about this page on your website is you almost are talking about what qualities they should look for in an elected leader, as opposed to, vote for this person or don't vote for this person. So what kind of qualities should Seattleites be considering when they decide who to vote for on November 7th?
Compassionate leaders who care about saving lives. Some of the recent ordinances that have been passed finally, about arresting for open air use and possession of narcotics is one. Which candidate is for or against that moving forward? The unsanctioned encampments, the open air drug scenes. I mean, there's this huge drug mall on 6th and Yesler, right now. Why is that still here? Thousands of families and fans will walk right by it this weekend, the Seahawks game. So letting people languish and die in these encampments, having found 9 deceased bodies myself.
Wow.
I just have to ask these questions, what's working and what's not, and what are each of those candidates standing for in terms of breaking up the open air drug scenes and restoring our police department. Being down 700 officers since 2019 is having a ripple effect through all of our districts.
What do you think it's going to take? I mean, obviously you're working on it and trying to get out and talk to people, but what do you think it's going to take to get more of those registered voters who simply aren't voting in all the elections to care enough to turn that ballot in?
I mean, it's marketing, it's messaging, it's getting out there, boots on the ground, grassroots events, much like there's a lot of candidate fundraisers going on right now. We need to have those ballot rallies, get out the vote parties, pop-ups, use your superpower. This is a call to your audience. If you own a business, are part of a book club, your athletic department, get those folks together and get them talking about voting. And it's a grassroots effort, I believe. And your vote counts. Every vote counts.
Yeah. How can they get involved in Voting is Your Superpower? Is it just as much as voting and passing the message along?
Yeah, passing the message along. Use social media. I voted today. Show you a video putting your ballot in the ballot box. I have 1,000 of these t-shirts. If you look us up at info@weheartseattle.org, send me your address. We'll drop off a box for your soccer team, your book club, your business, handing them out for free. We have been donated these t-shirts, and we want to spread the message that way. And every vote matters. And yeah, the 30% at best turnout, the undivided are not voting. So we don't have a consensus. There's no majority. And we feel divided because we're not coming together to vote. And I believe that voting, if I'm running for a pageant, voting is your superpower. And voting will bridge the divide, and maybe we'll have peace, a feeling of peace.
Gosh, that sounds so nice. And extra points for anyone who fits in the name of the show while they're here doing interviews. So you nailed it. Let me ask you about one more topic, just because we talked about it on the show before you came on, is the city of Seattle has started to enforce, in the Seattle Police Department, this watered down drug possession ordinance. To me, I think my concern about it was you had to prove that someone was a danger to themselves or others before you could arrest them on the drug ordinance, which in practice, I was sort of like, how is that going to work? So the chief of police came out and said they've started to enforce it. Does it seem promising to you?
I think it is. Yeah, I've seen more police down on the blade, and it's about that allowable no rules playground that's devolved our these human beings out there, and there's nothing humane about that. And so I'm really hopeful about the direction of this. It's humane, and we should see a reduction in overdose deaths. And that should be the forefront on everybody's mind, is the death toll and how do we reduce that now. No amount of levies and housing and policies, short term, we might pass them, but we need immediate incremental solutions to save people's lives. And it's unfortunate that we had to wait a few more weeks before that eventually passed, because that was death on people's watches.
Yeah, 100% agree. You guys are also our charity of the year. So if people want to donate to help the work that We Heart Seattle is doing, how can they do that?
WeHeartSeattle.org. We take donations of all kind, time, talent, treasure. We would love people to come back out and volunteer with us. Get your neighbors out voting, have ballot rally parties. Make sure we're talking about getting out the vote, and we do like donations. So come out in time, talent, or treasure.
That segment was brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org.